Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidil Mursaleen wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. Wa ba'd. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Wan najmi idha hawa ma dhalla sahibukum wa ma ghawa wa ma yantiqu anil hawa. Sadaqallahu al-azim. اللهم صل على سيدنا شفينا حبيبنا مولانا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا شفينا حبيبنا مولانا محمد بارك وسلم صلاة وسلاما عليك يا رسول الله صلى الله تعالى عليه وآله وسلم. Jazakumullah khairan for coming today. As you all know, we are here today to know a brief about Imam Muslim, who is one of the most figure of the knowledge of Hadith or ilm of Hadith or science of Hadith in Islam. And before this lesson or before this lecture, 2 weeks before, we talked about Imam Bukhari and his Sahih or his book of Sahih. A brief, of course, in 1 hour or around that, in 50 minutes or 60 minutes, we cannot cover each and everything, but at least overview what we know about Imam Bukhari and what we know about his book. We did that, we talked about that. And same we do today, inshallah, about Imam Muslim and his Sahih. A brief of his life and methodology he used in his book, which is known as Sahih Muslim. So we'll start, inshallah, and at the end of the session, we will have question and answer, inshallah. So as we know, Imam Muslim, his name is Muslim ibn al-Hajjaj al-Qushayri. So the tribe he belongs to, Qushayr, that's why he's Qushayri. And he is also Nishapuri or Nisaburi, because it's the town or the city in Central Asia that is called Nishapur or Nisabur. So he belongs to that city. So his whole name is Muslim ibn al-Hajjaj al-Qushayri al-Nisaburi. And he was known as Abul Hussein. That's his kunya or his title. Imam Muslim, radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, he born in 204 Hijrah and he passed away in 261 Hijrah. He is one of the well-known scholar of Islam and Hadeeth of the Islam, or experts in Hadith, and we all know he comes after Imam Bukhari. Imam Muslim grew up in a house where the knowledge was everywhere and in an environment. This is 2nd, 3rd century of Hijrah, when the mashallah, the Muslims, they were keen to learn their knowledge or the knowledge of Quran and Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alaihi wasallam. So everywhere is halaqat, everywhere is circle of knowledge. All the masajids are full of the ulamas and the students and the mashayikh and the lovers of the knowledge of Islam and Sunnah of Rasul alayhi salam, Quran, tafasir, everywhere is like that. Someone is holding the halaqah of Hadith, someone is holding the halaqah of Quran, someone is tafsir, someone is fiqh, likewise. So Imam Muslim, radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, he was living in that environment. So mashallah, he grew up as a scholar, as a muhaddis, as a alim, and as the expert of Hadith. These scholars talked a lot about him, like praise about him, and mentions him in their books, like Imam Zahabi, Siyar A'lam al-Nubala, and especially Imam Nawawi, who is one of the famous scholar of Hadith later on in 7th century of Hijrah. He talked a lot about Imam Muslim because he is the one who wrote a commentary on his book Sahih Muslim. So he praises and praises and praises and mentions about his life and biography and the characteristics that Imam Muslim holds. All these things are mentioned by our scholars. So what I will mention to you, so not I'm quoting all the books of the biography of Imam Muslim, but Alhamdulillah I read many and I collected from that, so I will be summarizing. And mostly it will be based on Imam Nawawi's opinion, or Imam Dhahabi's opinion, or Hakim, or Ibn Salah, and likewise some of the scholars, Ibn Hajar. These are the biggest scholars of Hadith, and they talk about him. So as Imam Muslim born, and he grew up in that environment, he, following the tradition of the time, wanted to learn the Islam and the knowledge of the Quran. So in his area, he finished some of the basics, and then he wanted to travel. This is one of the well-known tradition in Islam, and it used to be in 3rd, 4th, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th century of Hijrah and all that time. The scholars, they were going around the world, and particularly at Hijaz, Makkatul Mukarrama, Iraq, Madinatul Munawwara, Sham, Misr, or the Dimashq or the Cairo. These are Baghdad. These are the centers where the scholars were going to learn the knowledge, to receive the knowledge of Ahadith. So likewise, Imam Muslim, he traveled to Hijaz, meaning Makkatul Mukarrama, Madinatul Munawwara, Baghdad, Misr, Sham, all these areas he visited, and he received the knowledge from many shuyukh and many ulama and many scholars. When we talk about his shuyukh, who are his shuyukh? So it's sufficient for us to know Imam Bukhari is one of his shuyukh, or one of the shuyukh that he learned a lot, or he sat with him a lot, Imam Bukhari. And Imam Zuhli, we talked about him last time. Imam Zuhli, one of the well-known scholar of Hadith, is among the shuyukh of Imam Muslim. And likewise, Ali ibn al-Madini, Ishaq ibn Rahway, and Qutaybah ibn Sa'id, Ali ibn Jad, and many more, like Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal radiyallahu ta'ala anhum. They all are the shuyukh of Imam Bukhari radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. And likewise, if he has the big shuyukh or well-known shuyukh in Islam, or shuyukh of the time, likewise, when he becomes alim, or he was known by the tradition, by the scholars, by the culture, then the scholars and the ulama, the students, they started coming to him to learn from him, to know about the hadith of Rasul sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam. So he has many students, like he has many shuyukh, likewise he has many students. And among his students, Imam Tirmidhi is one of his students, is Imam Tirmidhi, whom we will know inshallah next week. So Imam Abu Isa Tirmidhi, Ibn Abi Hatim, Abu Bakr ibn Khuzaymah, Ali ibn al-Hasan al-Hilali, many scholars. They all are the scholars. His students are also scholars of the time and well known among the society of Muslim. When we talk about his knowledge, so his knowledge is also, as Imam Nawawi says, وَأَحَدُ أَعْلَامِ هَذَا الشَّانِ. He is one of the biggest scholar of Hadith. وَكِبَارُ الْمُبْرِزِينَ فِيهِ وَأَهْلُ الْحِفْظِ وَالْإِتْقَانِ. So well grounded in the Hadith, and as per Imam Nawawi, he traveled a lot here and there and many places, and Hijaz and all these places, and learned from the scholars of the time. One of the sheikhs says, حُفَّاظُ الدُّنْيَا أَرْبَعَةً. There are only 4 hafiz. Hafiz means not hafiz of Quran. Huffaz of Hadith, those who memorize thousands and thousands and thousands of Hadith with its chain and with its text. So Huffaz al-Dunya Arba'a, there are 4 Huffaz of Hadith, in his time is talking. One is Abu Zur'a bin Ray, he is in Ray, in Central Asia. And then second is Imam Muslim, and then Abdullah ad-Darimi in Samarkand, and Muhammad ibn Ismail al-Bukhari, meaning Imam Bukhari. So these are 4 scholars of the time. They were well known and they were praised by the scholars of the time. When we talk about his authorship or the books he compiled. Sahih Muslim is one of his books, but other than that, he compiled many books in tafsir and in other issues. The scholars, they gave the list of his books and talked about them. But Sahih Muslim is the famous one, and that is the well-known Sahih Muslim. Sahih Muslim, the name of this book is Al-Musnad As-Sahih Al-Jami. Al-Jami or Al-Musnad As-Sahih. Al-Jami Al-Musnad As-Sahih. Al-Jami Al-Musnad As-Sahih, because Imam Muslim, he collected all types of ahadith, and especially ahadith are included the fiqh, the issues of the fiqh, tafasir, and sirah and the biographies, sirah meaning khazawat of Rasul alayhi salam or maghazi, and many other things. And when he says al-Musnad as-Sahih, so according to Imam Muslim, صنفت هذا المسند الصحيح من 300,000 حديث مسموعة. I will talk about that. But in first sentence he says, I compiled this hadith based on authentic and sahih hadith. So basically whatever would be in his book, according to him, that will be authentic, sahih, reliable. And then when we talk about the sahih and reliable and authentic ahadith, so he, radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he collected all these ahadith from 300,000 ahadith. So he collected this collection, what we have here. This is called Sahih Muslim. This is the new version, but we have the other version of this hadith, this Sahih Muslim. The old version sometimes 2 volumes, 4 volumes, 3 volumes, like that. But this one is the recently published. This is it's just in 1 volume, and this is nicely printed, mashallah. So that is a Sahih Muslim, Al-Jami' As-Sahih, Al-Jami' Al-Musnad As-Sahih. And from 300,000 he collected. So how many ahadith he mentioned here? Some says, according to some scholars, 12,000 ahadith are here mentioned in this collection, and some says 8,000 ahadith are mentioned here. But after all, we know there are 4,000 ahadith without repetition. So when the scholars they are talking, some ahadith are repeated, some ahadith are mentioned 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, or more than 1 times. So with the repetition, there are the different numbers. But without a repetition, it's the 4,000 ahadith, as Imam Muslim himself mentioned in his Muqaddimah, and likewise other scholars of the science of ahadith. And in how many years he compiled this collection? So 2 opinions. One opinion says 15 years, second opinion says 15 years. So 15 or 16 years took him to compile all this collection of ahadith of Rasul sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam. But the important thing is, the scholars of the time, when they were compiling the ahadith, they were not thinking they are only the authority. They were recognizing other scholars and mashayikh in terms of authority. So at that time, when Imam Muslim, he compiled his collection, he presented this to Imam Abu Zur'a al-Razi, one of the biggest scholar of the time in terms of hadith. So he presented before him, and whatever he said, this is perfect. So Imam Muslim used to keep it in his collection. But whatever he was pointed it out, this is mu'allal, meaning it has some kinds of defection, or it is not sound, or it is not sahih. So Imam Muslim used to take it out. So Abu Zur'a al-Razi, as an authority in hadith, he was presenting that to before him, rahimahullah. And then when we talk about his book, before he starts his book, Imam Muslim, he wrote a comprehensive muqaddimah, or the preface. And in this preface, Imam Muslim talked about the characteristics of hadith and talked about his book. What is his book, and what type of ahadith he is going to mention in his book. All these he mentioned. But he starts that why did he compile this book? What's the reason, and how it came in his mind? So keep that in mind when we were talking about Imam Bukhari, I said that Imam Bukhari has some hints from some of his shuyukh, and then he wanted to compile a hadith on this issue. That was Imam Bukhari. Imam Muslim is his student, so he was impressed by Imam Bukhari. So, and following his footsteps, so Imam Muslim also decided to compile, but in a different way. So he gives a reason in his Muqaddimah, and he says that some of my students, they asked me to compile a book which includes all the Sahih Ahadith, and the tartib or the organization should be in a well manner, in a systematic manner. So Imam Muslim says, following or responding the question of one of my students or some people, those who asked me, I decided to compile this book, and then I compile whatever you see here, that this is the Sahih Muslim, or I named him al-Musnad al-Jami Sahih al-Sahih, al-Jami al-Musnad al-Sahih. So that is Imam Muslim. He is talking about his book. Now this in comprehensive Muqaddimah, in comprehensive preface, he talks what type of ahadith he is going to include in that, and that is important for us. This is one of the biggest purposes. He says many aqsam, or many types of ahadith, and many tabaqats are there, categories of ruwats and the narrators, but in this book the ahadiths are categorized in three categories. So he says, فَأَمَّا الْقِسْمُ الْأَوَّلِ فَإِنَّا نَتَوَخَّى أَن نُقَدِّمَ الْأَخْبَارِ التي هي أسلم من العيوب من غيرها وأنقى. And Imam Nawawi, when he is summarizing his statements, so Imam Nawawi says, basically, Imam Muslim, he categorized his ahadith, all of his ahadith, in three categories. Number one, the categories of ruwats are there. First of all, three categories: al-huffaz, al-mutqinun, al-huffaz, al-mutqinun, those who are well grounded in the hadith of Rasul sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam, and they memorized thousands and thousands or hundreds of ahadith of Rasul sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam. They are mutqin, they are so they're so well grounded, and also grounded in the hadith of Rasul sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam, so authentic and authority in the hadith of Rasul alayhi salam. Number two, the categories of ruwat are al-mastur, al-mutawassit. Al-mastur, al-mutawassit. They are not weak, they are not fake, they are not someone who made up, but they are still authentic people, not very well known. Mastur, they are known by some people, and in hifd and itqan, they are okay, they are good, masha'Allah. And the third category of the ruwat, or the people, they are al-du'afa wal-matrukun. Al-du'afa wal-matrukun. They are the weak narrators. They are the weak narrators, and they are left by. Tark al-matruk is the one of the term is used in science of hadith of Rasul sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam. So what happened in this, if some ruwat, they do not, or some muhaddis, if they do not narrate from some narrators, so they use the term tarakahu, meaning he did not, for example, Imam Bukhari did not narrate from some of the mashayikh of the time, so he would use this word, or others would use that. He left to narrate by this word, to narrate from this sheikh or this scholar. So this is kind of du'af or weakness. If some muhaddis does not narrate the hadith from the experts of the time or muhaddis of the time, that means that this is the sign of weakness of that sheikh. That's why he did not narrate. So Imam Muslim is categorizing in three categories: al-mutqin, al-huffaz, al-mutqinun. They are well grounded. The second one is they are good too, mashallah, they are authentic, but not very much known by the society, by the scholars of the time. And the third category is du'afa, they are weak and they are matruk. These are the categories, they are known by the scholars. And Imam Bukhari also have these categories. But there is a difference between Imam Bukhari and Imam Muslim. So the first one is Kamilul Dhabt. Kamilul Dhabt and Kathirul Mulazamati Ma'a Shaykh. Meaning, like I as a Shaykh, if I would say, I am narrating a hadith and you are a student, or I am a student, you are the Shaykh. So when I as a Shaykh narrating the hadith, you as a student listening the hadith of Rasul Sallallahu Ta'ala Alaihi Wasallam, whatever you are listening, hearing from me, you preserve it completely. You do not miss. When you go outside of the mosque, at that time you are talking to someone else, so you are saying as it is. You are narrating as it is. You are citing me, quoting me as it is, word by word, and with the complete meaning. You are not doing any mistakes. That is called al-dhabt. This is very big point in hadith of Rasul Sallallahu Ta'ala Alaihi Wasallam, or in terms of the science of hadith, that the scholars of the time were narrating the hadith and the students were preserving or doing the dhabt, meaning they were preserving completely in all manners. So the first category of the rawat, they're supposed to be kamilul dhabt, completely preserving what they hear from their shuyukh. And meanwhile, they are kathirul mulazama. These students, they spend long time with their shuyukh. When the shuyukh are there, whether they are teaching, they are traveling, they are sleeping, wherever they are, this student is always with the shaykh. This student is always with the shaykh. So this type of students are called kathirul mulazamati ma'a shuyukh. So Imam Muslim preferred this tabaqa, this category of ruwat. When he is narrating, so in first you have to understand this shaykh from whom Imam Muslim is narrating the hadith, he is kamilul dhabt. When he heard this hadith from his shaykh, meaning grand shaykh of Imam Muslim, so Imam Muslim's shaykh preserved it completely in a comprehensive manner. And number two, Imam Muslim's shaykh spent long time with his own shaykh, so grand shaykh. So that's the first category of the ruwat in Sahih Muslim, or the first category of the ruwat in general, and Imam Muslim is narrating from this type of shuyukh. Number two, kamilul dhabt but qalilul mulazamati ma'a shaykh. This shuyukh, the shuyukh of Imam Bukhari, Imam Muslim, they are kamilul dhabt. They preserve completely. They memorized or they remember whatever their shuyukh told them. They memorize it as it is. But they did not spend much time with their shuyukh. Example could be like Imam Muslim's shaykh. He is very authentic, preserving, but he did not spend longer time with his shuyukh. Still Imam Muslim considered them as his shuyukh and narrates from them as well. Third category, they are naqisul dhabt. They are naqisul dhabt. They do not preserve as they heard from their shuyukh completely. They preserve it in an incomplete manner, not as it is. But they are kathirul mulazama. But they spend longer time with the shuyukh. So they did not preserve each and everything with the shuyukh, but they spend long time with the shuyukh. So what Imam Muslim does, the first two categories is fine for Imam Muslim, but from the third category, Imam Muslim takes a picks and choose. Okay, this one is qalilul mulazama, kathirul mulazama, but naqisul dhabt, did not preserve each and everything, but he spent longer time. So whatever fits for Imam Muslim's category or paradigm or the condition, the requirements he set up for himself, so he takes it from that. So, but first from the first and second one, he mentions without any problem. But the third one, he picks and chooses. Whatever he wants, he takes it. But Imam Bukhari, according to some narrators, Imam Bukhari takes from the first one, Kamilul Dhabt and Kasirul Mulazamati Ma'a Shaykh, whatever he mentioned, Imam Bukhari, whatever Imam Bukhari mentions, so that means his shuyukh, Imam Bukhari's shaykh, must be completely preserving, completely he preserves. And he spends a longer time. In the second category, the complete preservation and the Qalilul Mulazama did not spend longer time with the shuyukh, Imam Bukhari, according to one narration, picks and choose from the second category. But Imam Muslim picks and choose from the third category. That is the one of the main differences between Imam Bukhari and Imam Muslim. Now, when we go about a hadith of Sahih Muslim, so Imam Muslim himself mentioned that I will mention in my collection the hadith which is agreed upon, meaning Huffaz of the time, they agreed on this hadith as this hadith is Sahih. Now the shuyukh, they explain these statements of Imam Bukhari in many ways. What is the meaning of Imam Muslims saying that I will not include in my collection the hadith unless until it is agreed upon, or ajma'u alayhi. They all did the ijma or agree on this hadith's authenticity. What is the meaning of that? Hakim and others, they explain, and Ibn Salah, they explain in different ways, in many ways. But the summary of whatever they mention, the meaning of these statements of Imam Muslim, that Imam Muslim will bring what is well known among, especially among the Tirmidhi, Nasai, Ibn Majah, all these type of ulama and muhaddisun, and it was well known, and they agreed that this is Sahih Hadith, is verified by them as well. That is the meaning of this, his condition or his statements. And then when we go to the next, so there are many words and the terms in Sahih Bukhari, in Sahih Muslim, where Imam Muslim has his own opinion. One of the things Imam Muslim has the different methodology, that is the word akhbarana and the word haddathana. This word is known haddathana and akhbarana. Haddathana means he narrated hadith from me, or he told me. Haddathana, he informed me. I would say, if I'm narrating from my shaykh, so I would say haddathani shaykhi, so and so. Or if a group, we will say haddathana shuyukhuna kada wa kada. Or my so and so shaykh narrated this hadith in this way. And the akhbarana has the same meaning. In terms of the literal meaning is the same. But according to Imam Muslim, there is a difference. Imam Bukhari does not make a difference and others. But Imam Bukhari makes a difference between haddathana and akhbarana. For Imam Muslim, if he directly hears from the shaykh, at that time he uses the word haddathana. At that time he uses the word haddathana. But the akhbarana he uses when lamma quri'a ala shaykh. So qirat ala shaykh meaning you as a student, you are reading and I'm listening. That is called qirat ala shaykh. So when I'm listening attentively, carefully and correcting you, that is called qirat ala shaykh. So if that is the case, at that time Imam Muslim uses the word akhbarana. So meaning, if the akhbarana is here in Sahih Muslim, you have to understand that the students were reading and the shaykh was listening attentively. But the haddathana is when you are hearing attentively, the students, they hear from the shaykh. At that time, Imam Muslim is using this word. And then after that, there is one more difference in between Imam Muslim and Imam Bukhari, and which is well known. All these scholars, whenever they talk about this, about Muslim or Sahih Muslim, they must mention that because it's important in terms of the science of hadith, and that is called sima and the mu'asarat. Sima is listening the hadith. According to Imam Muslim, what he mentioned here in his muqaddimah, so two possibilities are there. You are listening the hadith from me, listening to me, and you just heard from me. So for Imam Muslim, it's sufficient if we are sheikh and student, teacher and students, we both are contemporary. And it's possible for us to meet with each other. I'm living here in this area in North Carolina, and you are living in Texas. So we are contemporary, and there is possibility between me and you that you could come to me to see me, or I could come to you to see you, and we both can narrate from each other. So there is a possibility that I am living in same age and time and same country, you are living in same age and time and same country, where is it's possible for us to meet with each other. If that is the case, for Imam Muslim, it's sufficient. But for Imam Bukhari, this is not sufficient. For Imam Bukhari, it is required, it has to be proven that the teacher and the students, they both meet with each other. It has to be proven there, somewhere is written, or somewhere say that I saw so and so. But for Imam Muslim, he says that doesn't make sense. And then he wrote a lot and he refuted this idea. He did not mention the name of Imam Bukhari, but he refutes this idea. He says, whoever says that, they don't know about the hadith, they don't know this and this. There's many things he talks about that in his muqaddimah here. And finally he says, this is, and then he gives an example. Many examples from a hadith of Rasulullah, the narrators, the narrations of Sayyidah Aisha and Urwa and Hisham and all many narrators and Ruwasi, he gives an example that this should be the example, this should be sufficient for us as a evidence, as a dalil, that these two narrators were in same age and time, and look, they are narrating from each other. So it's not required for us to prove that they made really being in one age and time, one time, it's sufficient. That is one of the important things that we should keep in our mind. One more point comes here when we talk about the differences between Imam Bukhari and Muslim. That is called, the term is called munawala. The term is called munawala. Munawala is basically an idea when you are narrating the ahadith in a special manner. Munawala is two types. Munawala, you as a student, you come to me, you come to the sheikh, and then sheikh has his own notebook. I have my own notebook, all the books I collected, all the ahadith in that, and I gave you. Take this. I'm not narrating to you, but I gave you my notebook. I told you take it and go write it down from whatever you want from my book. So you took my book and you went and you wrote it. And once you completed the writing, then you gave it back to me. That is one way of munawala. And another way of munawala is, whatever you listen, I am narrating the hadith and you are listening the hadith from me, and you collected from my listening, and you made a note. Once I finished that and you finished the writing, then you gave me your note to review it, to read it again. So once I revised it, then I will give it back to you. This is another type of munawala, and this is in the science of hadith well known. Having that in mind, now come to Imam Bukhari and Muslim. So scholars of ahadith, or the science of ahadith, they mention that Imam Muslim narrated ahadith in his book. Imam Bukhari narrated ahadith bi tariq al-munawala. Imam Bukhari, from the people of Sham, scholars of Sham, he narrated through munawala. But Imam Muslim did not narrate through munawala. So just remember two ways of munawala, giving the book, whether the shaykh is giving you his notebook and you are writing, or you wrote in your notebook and giving to shaykh. So these two ways of munawala. So shuyukh of Sham, Syrian scholars of Ahadith, when Imam Muslim is narrating from them, so Imam Muslim is narrating from them directly. He sat in their majalis, circle of knowledge, and listening to them directly, and then putting them these ahadith in his book. Versus Imam Bukhari, he just went to Syria, and he says, okay, so and so Shaykh is here. He took his notebook, and of course with the permission Shaykh is giving him, and then he is writing from their notebooks. So this is one of the things that the scholars they say, they talk and they say that the Muslim has the preference on Bukhari because of this munawala system, because of this way, and some other things are there. But this is one of the things that we can say Imam Bukhari and Muslims' approach is different. And then after that, the importance of Imam Muslim we see when he is narrating the ahadith. He is very systematic in narrating the ahadith, very systematic. How he does, one of the things, the word he uses, he collected many ahadith. He collected many ahadith on the issues systematically. Like Imam Bukhari, it will be hard for someone who wanted to know something in Bukhari, because what Imam Bukhari does, the chapter title, for example, I mentioned earlier when I was talking about Sahih Bukhari, the chapter title is, for example, al-Wahi, or the buyu, the trade, the business. In that chapter title, Imam Bukhari may mention some ahadith that is not directly related to the buyu or the business. Or in chapter of Adhan, he will mention, Imam Bukhari, something related to the business, for example. Imam Muslim does not do that. What Imam Muslim does, Imam Muslim, if he has the chapter of Adhan, he will bring all the ahadith that talks about Adhan. If he talks about business, the chapter title is business, Imam Muslim would mention all the ahadith of business there under that chapter, that title. By the way, Imam Muslim himself did not put his chapter title. That was later on wrote by some of the scholars, and some says by Imam Nawawi, who is one of the commentator on the hadith of Sahih Muslim. But the idea is, in one topic, if you wanted to know a hadith in one topic, just to go to Imam Muslim, pick up the book, and you will find all or mostly majority authentic ahadith on this issue in one place in Sahih Muslim. This is not in Sahih Bukhari. And while Imam Muslim is doing that, he is, as I said, very systematic. And in that system, one of the word he uses, the word ha, meaning matan could be same, one matan, one text, one idea, but the chain of narration is different. Different people, one of the chain is here, the second chain, third, fourth, fifth. So from different ways, from different chains, he mentioned the shuyukhs or the muhaddisun, they collect the ahadith. So what happened for the other muhaddisun, other scholars like Imam Bukhari and others, hadith is like innamal a'malu bin niyat, for example. You are collecting from different chains. So this will be considered as a different hadith. One hadith, innamal a'malu bin niyat, from this chain. Another chain, the same hadith, but you are counting it two times. Same hadith from third chain, you are counting the third hadith. But for Imam Muslim, all that is just one hadith. So when there are multiple chain of narrations, Imam Muslim put it together. And for that, Imam Muslim uses the word ha, what is called the tahwil. Tahwil meaning, or tahwil is when Imam Muslim is meeting with one of his shuyukh. So he narrates from his sheikh, and then he stops here. Then the different narration comes here, and these two shuyukh meet together. He put just word ha, like a pause you can say. So when he has the pause, so he used the word ha, then brings another chain, then connect it together, and then brings the after that whoever shaykh is. This is very important when the scholars they are talking about Imam Muslim or Sahih Muslim, what type of ahadith he mentions in his hadith. So that is called tahweel. So tahweel is important in terms of understanding the text or the matan of Imam Muslim. And then there are some non-authentic ahadith in Sahih Bukhari, Sahih Muslim or not? Some of the ahadith are there that is called mu'allaqat, and then maqtu and mawquf. These are the categories of ahadith. Mu'allaq means the ahadith that when you as a sheikh, you do not mention your sheikh. So whether your sheikh, you removed your sheikh, or the entire chain is not there, you directly say, as a Imam Muslim, for example, you would say, Abu Hurairah said this and this, or you directly would say, Rasul sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam said that. So that is called kind of mu'allaq. Imam Bukhari does a lot. Imam Bukhari does a lot. But Imam Bukhari's purpose is completely different when he does that. He is not putting that in a basic text, but for different purpose he uses that. Imam Muslim, according to Ibn Salah, there are 14 mu'allaqat. There are 14 mu'allaqat. Like when Imam Muslim just directly, he does not mention the chain, directly says Rasulullah says that, or so and so Sahabi says that. And then maqtu and mawquf. Maqtu and mawquf, what is the statements of Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala. For example, Abdullah ibn Abbas says that, Abu Hurairah says that, or Ibn Umar says that. These are the Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala anhum. And their statements are called mawquf. They are still hadith, but they are called mawquf. So mawquf ahadith, that is also mentioned in Sahih Muslim, but their number is very small, very small. Imam Ibn Hajar, he wrote a complete book on this issue, al-wuquf, or whatever comes, the mawqufat or the mawquf ahadith in Sahih Muslim. Then the shahid and i'tabar. Shahid and i'tabar or mutaba'at. These are the techniques or the terms that the muhaddithun they use in their ahadith. If there is the hadith, different hadith, the meaning would be little different, but the chain of narration is different. Meaning is same, chain could be the different, or alfaz would be the different, but the process of collecting and knowing these ahadiths together, I'm just summarizing the meaning. The process, if the meaning is as it is, you as one narrator, you narrated one hadith, now another narrator is narrating the same hadith as it is, you did. So that is called shahid, like exact word. But if there is, if the meaning is same, that would be called shahid. But if the word is as it is, exact word, that is called mutaba'at. That is called mutaba'at. So Imam Muslim does that. He brings one hadith from one narrators, and then he brings, if there is a differences in the word, then he quotes the same with different narrations. So you will be aware of that, and it helps the fuqaha a lot. If you are a person of fiqh and you are a jurist, you wanted to abstract the meaning from the hadith, so difference in the word will make sense for you, and you will just look for, is there a difference word or not. So likewise, Imam Muslim mentions a hadith. And also one of the things Imam Muslim does, that he is very particular in terms of the narrators. When the narrators they are mentioned, and their Imam Muslim's shuyukh does not mention the name of this narration, for example, narrator, only he mentions kunyat, or he mentions the name and this narrator may not be known. So Imam Muslim highlights father's name or his kunya or something by which this narrator would be known among the scholars of the ahadith. He does, and he uses the word yani, or he uses the word wahuwa, he is so and so. When the narrator is mentioned there and it looks like someone will be confused by him, so Imam Muslim would highlight that yani, meaning this person is so and so, or wahuwa, he is like that. And then finally, when we come to know is there any critics on Sahih Muslim or not? Yes, of course. Always, as I mentioned about Imam Bukhari, there is some critics on him. Likewise, some critics on Sahih Muslim as well. And that critics is mostly came from Imam Darqutni. He says, no, you cannot say there are many. There are only Sahih Ahadith. There are some weak Ahadith as well. But the scholars like Imam Nawawi responded that, and he says no. Imam Muslim's Sahih does not have any weak Ahadith. If some weeks you see, it could be according to your requirement, but according to Imam Muslim's requirements, it's not a weak Ahadith. Or if Imam Muslim mentioned for a different purpose, it's not as he depends on this hadith exactly. He mentions that as a supporting evidence, This is what we know about Imam Muslim or his Sahih. So basically, if I would summarize, Imam Muslim, mashallah, one of the scholars of hadith and well known among the ummah of Islam and Muslim ummah, and his book is very systematic. Easy to know, easy to learn, easy to find out the book, easy to find out the ahadith, and easy to understand as well. So if anyone wanted to understand hadith of Rasulullah or wanted to have the authentic hadith of Rasulullah, so it's better for them, if they are not a scholar, it's better for them to rely on Sahih Muslim versus relying on Sahih Bukhari. MashaAllah, if you can find out the ahadith, or if you know some background, then Bukhari is fine. But if you don't have the background, Muslim is recommended for you. This is what I wanted to share with you. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept our effort and give us tawfiq to follow the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam. Now inshallah it's open for the question and answer. If you have any question, you can ask inshallah.